Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the bell.
Yo, be a father. If not, why bother, son? A boy can make them, but a man can raise one. Be a father to your child. Be a father to your child.
What's up, this KGB?
What up, it's DJ EFN.
Yo, this is your boy Manny Digital. And we are the
we
Fatherhoods.
Fatherhood.
My bad. Was that my part? Should I finish with that?
That's okay. It was a nice pause there for people to
I'm just
hold on to.
That you're doing the Barry White at the end is hilarious to me.
Yo, that's my sweet and sexy voice, kid.
We don't need that here.
I should have said pause, right? There was a pause missing.
Oh God.
Wait,
So what up, fellas?
before we start, just so I don't hear your mouth, look, airplane mode, all right? Airplane mode.
Why, you were the one last time?
Yeah, I'm always the one.
Fucking guy, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think this would probably be a good episode to at the end of the episode, right? We got a listener who made a track. He's got a track up, and we'll play it at the end of the episode. Man,
Dope.
you got his info? It's a dope
Yes.
track too.
Yes, I'm actually looking it up right now. Damn it, you caught me.
It's okay. Well,
Yeah, his name is actually he goes by FNX. The official FNX, letter FNX, on Instagram. He has a pretty dope song. I'm losing track of the name right now, but you'll hear it at the end of this episode. It's pretty dope, and so he shared the lyrics. I'm sorry, the track with us. So we're gonna rock with it.
Dope. Looking forward to that.
it'll be our world premiere.
Word.
World premiere.
And he got an album coming out this month too. So hopefully y'all check that out.
It's called Daddy's Baby.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
There we go. So we'll play that at the end so people can rock out to that.
Yes. So happy New
All right.
Year. I think we might have said this already, but whatever. Happy New
Yeah.
Year again.
Yeah, we'll say it again. Why
Yeah,
not?
it's good for a month.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a quick question for you guys.
Yep.
So today's my daughter's 8-month
Okay.
birthday.
8-month mark.
Yep. So it's a milestone for sure.
Congrats.
So between me and my girl, I have the magic arms to put my daughter to sleep, right? I'm pretty good at it. I could get her to fall out pretty much within like 5 minutes. If in the right environment, like in the room, whatever. Recently though, well, she had her first cold. She was
Right.
sick.
Remember she was
Yeah.
sick last time.
Yeah. And she's obviously in the middle of teething as well. So, that it makes her get a little crazy where she like rubs her face or scratches her ear, her neck or whatever. But most recently, when I've been trying to put her to sleep, she's been like fighting it hardcore, like thrashing. And I'm just like, is this normal? Like she's like violent about it, where she slaps me, grabs my nose, grabs my cheek, grabs my ear, and she's like kicking. And I'm just like, yo. I told my girl, demon spawn. She's like, don't say that. I'm like, yo, man, she's wilding out. And I'm just wondering, is that normal?
Yeah. You know what? I don't think there is any normal. I think that I think the kids, they just change on at the drop of a dime. It's like 1 minute you are in a flow and it seems like this is the way it's going, and then the next day something changes and they're doing something entirely different.
Like what I feel bad about it, and this is what I'm worried about, is that I'm holding her tight because I know she's sleepy.
Yeah.
Because we know for a fact that she gets a little feisty when she's fighting her sleep. That's kind of been normal.
Yeah.
But she gets now a little violent in a sense.
Like
Maybe it sounds a little crazier than what it is, huh?
like kicking and screaming and that kind of thing.
Kicking and moving her arm and wiggling a lot and
My son would do that. My son would do that when he was, because he didn't like to get put in a swaddle, right? So we'd do the swaddle. As soon as he tried to do the swaddle, he's yelling and he's kicking and banging and trying to get out of it. So I'd say it's normal, and it's just going to continue to change depending on whatever internally she's going through.
The swaddle, I'm almost like I want to regress to the swaddle because I feel like she's gonna hurt herself and people, or me. like, so what I do is I grab her, like, if someone, like if someone in a hospital is, you need to like contain them so they don't hurt themselves and somebody else.
Right.
Like I'm holding her really tight. I'm like, oh man, I'm like releasing the pressure to make sure I don't hurt her as well. And then eventually she just like gives up and goes to sleep. Like she's just too much energy was expanded there. So
you said she's teething though, right?
Yeah, she's teething.
That could be part of it, definitely.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, but I think that's just a case of the Cuban, bro. The Cuban's finally coming out in heavy doses.
No, I definitely see the Cuban. I see the angry EFN side of her in her already, and I see all that. But man, I don't know, man. I'm just worried. I don't know.
Yeah,
she's wilding out.
Don't be worried. Just adapt. This whole shit is just as it goes. Just adapt.
The best is when she slaps the dog shit out of her. I'm like, oh.
Yo, you gotta like see if you can catch a boomerang of that or something, bro. We gotta post that.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, adapt is the right word. That and sometimes you forget that you do have to adapt, especially when things are just start to feel like they're just on kind of cruise control, and then all of a sudden something changes.
Yeah. Like yesterday, she was on one, man. She was just in such a cranky mood all day that me and my girl were just like, "Yo, what the hell's going on?" Like she was just not happy. She was not a happy camper all day.
Were y'all like fumbling through different techniques and trying to figure out how to appease her, or were y'all just like set her back and like, fuck, it's
just none of the regular shit work. Like, the things that we would default to, like a toy or hold her or put her here or put her there. None of that was working, So it was wild. I mean, today was actually pretty smooth. She seemed to be in a good mood today. I really do think the teething has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
And when she was sick, which was last week, being sick and teething, she was terrible for her. She couldn't breathe through her nose, and it's all new to her. You could hear the gargling, and so, but yeah, so that's where I'm at. I just want to make sure that she's not a demon spawn. She's like, Satan's my father. No, my angel is not an angel.
Does your girl get upset when you say things like that?
Oh, she gets really she gets don't you dare, she slaps me. Don't you call her a demon. Like, yo, just kidding, bro. Satan has a sense of humor.
We've got a looming teacher strike out here in LA.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. You might have seen it in the news or not, but LAUSD is on the verge of a strike.
With the shutdown period of the government,
yeah, man,
that really worked out too well.
So it was actually supposed to go down tomorrow, and I guess they didn't file the right documents in time to uphold whatever needs to happen with the strike. But so now it's pushed back until potentially
all Monday. Counties, all LA County, like
all LA, yeah, all LA.
Yeah, I gotta talk to because my cousin's a teacher. I gotta ask him.
Okay, yeah. And the crazy thing is that so I think LA school district has hired about 500 or 600 substitutes.
Is that enough?
In the case of the strike, no, it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
But what's wild is that I was reading something, and part of the strike is for increased pay for the teachers and smaller classroom sizes. I think, if I remember correctly, I read that actually when they did the math, the substitutes will end up making more hourly than the teachers normally make.
So this is going to be
that's kind of a slap.
This is going to be a long one.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if smaller classes will equal it probably having to build more schools or something. No?
I don't know how they would do that. Yeah, it's got to be something, because right now I think the cap size is about 30 students per class. At my son's school, he's at about anywhere from 20 to 25 kids in a class. And that's a lot of kids for a teacher. And then some don't, some have teachers' aides, some don't. And they rely a lot on the parents to help with things. But yeah, I think when they do the strike, they're saying that you don't have to send your kids to school. There's a lot of parents that will still need to send their kids to school because it's also a form of childcare,
like a daycare.
Yeah. But it's like they're saying, okay, grades K through 3, everyone's going to be in the auditorium, all day, and then break it off. So, but it's also, if you send your kids to school, and it's also, there's a lot of talk about it's sending a message that you're not standing with the teachers, for their rights and all that kind of stuff. So
they're going to get mad at you.
What do you guys think about that?
I think each individual has to deal with their personal life.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking because here, for instance, when they have like an allotted amount of days that they can miss school, like a snow day or whatever the case is.
Right. Yeah. There's a certain amount of excused versus unexcused absences. I mean, in the event of a strike, if a kid doesn't go to school, they cannot count those days against them. Okay. So that's all out the window. It's really more of, do you want? I'm not sending my son to school during a strike.
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, I think you might as well stand with the teachers because they deserve more pay, and it's a better environment for your kid. But there's some people that just don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing too, your son is probably pretty well used to the manner in which he's being taught by the teachers that are a part of his every day.
Right.
I would be skeptical to send him simply because that routine's obviously going to break now, and I'm fearful of the negative implications of that.
Oh, it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
There have been a couple times where there's been substitutes if the teacher's been out sick or whatever, and he comes back and says, "Oh man, these kids were wilding out in class today because we had a substitute."
Yeah.
So I mean, again, even in the normal flow, that 20 to 25 kids with the teacher who's normally there,
that's crazy.
Can get a little crazy. But then to have all the kids in an auditorium with substitutes and on top of that, it turns out that they just said in the news that LA has kind of dropped some of the standards for background checks on these folks.
Oh my God.
To speed the process. So instead of doing like a federal background check on people, they're just checking, the sex offender registry and stuff like that. So then you also have no idea who's watching who's watching your kids.
I thought
crazy,
LA
man.
And California in general is supposed to be a model state and city. What the hell's going on here?
Oh, there's a lot of shit that goes on out here, man.
Yo, okay, I'm gonna scout the neighborhood, see if there's a couple houses out here, so you could,
come make your way to Miami, bro. You don't go to New York; it's too cold out there.
Yo, cold.
You need the beaches, man.
Yeah, man. So we'll see what happens with this.
Strike
action.
You bring up a good point. Now I got to check what the background check situation is over here because I want to know what their criteria looks like because I'm not aware.
For what, subs?
Yeah, well, for teachers in general, what's
yeah.
the process? Because I don't know. But now that you say that shit, I'm hoping that they go all the way and do the right thing. But you never know.
I don't want to send my kid to school now, man.
Relax, Chanchi.
You guys heard recently now we all know the Catholic church and schools or whatever with the priest stuff, right? Now the nuns have been wilding out. History of nuns. Yeah, people are right now it's just girls coming out, but some women have come out saying that when they were young, nuns took advantage of them, drugged them, got them drunk, and taught them how to, have sex. So now they're saying that the nuns were able to hide it more efficiently than the priests because people just weren't thinking of them, and then they were just a little bit more closed in or tight knit. But now the nuns are the wilding out too. So it's what the fuck, man? You can't say you can. I just don't trust anybody with my kid.
Yeah, you gotta we hardly allow any kind of unsupervised one-on-one interaction with anyone outside of my wife and I.
Dude,
period.
Yeah.
I brought this up to a friend of mine at the gym today, and then he tells me that I don't know if it was someone he knew or a story he saw in the news. I don't remember, but he said that a guy was with his daughter in a supermarket, a packed supermarket, and the daughter tells him, "Daddy, this man just touched my butt." And he was with his daughter, but he was holding her hand, or supposedly, and he was like, but he believed her, but he was just like, how, but so he went to the store manager and asked to watch the video camera. And turns out some freaking pervert, while they're like looking at like food aisle with other people around, like was patting the girl's butt.
What? Wow.
Yo, son.
And then they approached the dude, and then supposedly the dude, the guy that they accused, wilded out with like a knife, and then the cops had to come and they got him. But yeah, bro, like it's just weird things, man. Like,
yeah, the hombre libra.
The point of that was the point he was trying to make to me is, even with you being right there with your child, something can still happen, So imagine leaving your child, away from you for a second or whatever.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Scary, bro.
I saw some video like that on, it might have been CNN actually, that there was some random dude that just passed by and kind of took a swipe at the little girl, like a little girl's behind.
Maybe it's the same story?
Nah, but the father raced after him and whooped his ass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't let that happen.
Let's have him on Fatherhoods.
Yo, if I could track him down, we're gonna get him.
Talking about all this, and I don't know if this is a topic we want to touch. R. Kelly, man.
Oh. Yeah, we should. Damn, we probably shouldn't say the word touch the topic. We should use some other word.
Oh, damn, come on, man.
I'm saying this, that shit's like hypersensitive.
I mean, look, this type of topic, like, of course, like on Drink Champs, the guys want to talk about it. I'm not interested in talking about it in general, but being that it's fatherhoods and it's parenting and it's kids, and this is what this is dealing with. I mean, I think it is a viable topic to bring up.
Well, look, it's so I think I'm assuming none of us are shocked, and we probably
we've
all knew that this was what it was when we heard about this years and years and years ago, right. and I was just kind of apparently, I'm just surprised that no one was up in arms back then,
right?
But then it also goes back to not putting blame, but it just goes back to what we're just talking, like leaving your kids unattended, or how do you trust people and hand your child over to folks with an understanding that they're not going to get taken advantage of. I mean, that's a hard one to decipher, and I'm just talking generally.
Yeah,
well, right, and we have to understand that in some situations, and I can't say this is the situation for all these people and all these kids. Some people might come from a poor background, underprivileged, background, whatever, and they want better for the kid, and they can't necessarily be there in every step and watch it, and they're just thinking, this guy can potentially help my child reach a different level that I can't help my child reach, and you kind of blindly hope for the best,
right, under the guise of, this guy's a superstar, and
right.
he sees talent in my child, and
right,
they're going to do the right thing and take her on the road and make her a star, and while truth be told, that's not happening.
That whole shit just disgusts me, bro. Like I've been avoiding all of it, like the series that's on or whatever. Like I
haven't watched it either, and I don't know if and I'm not trying to. If you watch we did Drink Champs with the Dream.
Yeah,
and it got awkward because he was bigging. I forget because I was drunk, of course, but I know we started talking about R. Kelly, and I was just like, and he was just bigging him up, and I'm just like, yo, but if this is true, then it's not. Dude's not cool. He's not really
right.
As good as we're talking about him right now. So whatever, man. It's just weird, man. It's just crazy that these so many kids, apparently, so many young people seem to have been exposed to this. Yeah,
it's nuts.
Which also seems, I mean, and it's not just R. Kelly. I mean, this is something that
no, it's not just R. Kelly.
Yeah, and this is something that happens that you hear about in entertainment,
right,
all the time.
It's scumbag nation for sure.
Yeah, I worry about it. Excuse me, from like just a slightly different angle, the sports side of things, where for instance, my daughter, she goes and plays on a Catholic youth organization league, right? And then the coaches, her coaches so far have proven to be excellent people. But when she's introduced to a new team, I'm very hesitant. I'm always around. I'm like the only parent that stays through the practices for several of them just to gauge what's going on and who's coming in and out and all that stuff.
Yeah, as you should.
Right. But I found it so strange. I'm like, yo, does nobody else give a shit about where their kid is? And you know, you got to be very careful, because just as much as, you know, the nuns can get down with it and entertainers, you got a lot of kids in these youth programs all over the country. And for instance, a lot of these AAU groups, they travel. So they go to different states, sometimes different countries. So you got to really entrust your kid to these people and really have a sound understanding of who they are before that thought can even come to your mind to say, you know what, go.
I don't even know how we stumbled upon it. For some reason, we ended up reading some information about the police athletic league here, the local one, and that place had been marred by abuse by some cops who were running that in that program, and they had abused some of the kids there. So it's just like, it's all over the place, man.
Yeah, it sucks, bro. Can we touch a lighter topic?
Jesus Christmas, man.
I don't know if it's a lighter topic, but here's a I guess it's kind of a semi-serious topic. But what are your thoughts on kids pretending to play with guns or pretend gunplay with each other?
I mean, that's a tough one, because I was one of those kids that played heavily with guns. I mean, to the point where I was like, it got to be realistic. It's, I'm not getting no neon green gun. My thing got to look like an M16 legit. I want the clip, and and I'm wearing the appropriate gear, and we got to move accordingly. So I don't know, man. I guess different times call for different approaches, and maybe those were, in times before us, maybe times were more innocent, and cowboys and Indians or whatever, and playing Army, playing G.I. Joe or whatever the hell. It was just innocent, but now it just seems like it's a little bit more serious, and there's a lot more things happening, and there's video games to go along with it that add another level of gore that desensitizes these kids to why I think some of these kids, although, it's at the end of the day, ultimately it's parenting, I believe, because I think a kid could be exposed to a lot of things, but if they have the right parenting, they know what's real, what's not, and, whatever. But yeah, man, I think these kids see all this stuff, and then they can easily go out. If they can do a first person shooter all day, every day, and these games get more and more graphic, it's nothing for them to put themselves in the mind frame of that's what I'm doing when I actually do something in real life.
I mean, with the advent of this artificial intelligence and all that good stuff, I mean, all they got to do is just put that whatever, those goggles or what have you, and they run around. They could potentially even have something that's very real. Like my kids, people give them guns for, whatever, Nerf guns or what have you, and they play with them. But I almost have like an unwritten rule when it comes to that. I'm like, yo, don't point them at nobody's face, right? And don't be close range. Like those are my two things, and it's been that way pretty much my whole life, because it's always been toys, obviously, but I just feel weird about that shit. Like it just triggers like, all right, if this shit was a real situation, now he's got this habit that this is kind of where it's at. So that's my little way of kind of taking it back to being just a toy.
So what if your son is, aside from a Nerf gun or a water gun or any of that kind of stuff, what if he just picks up like a random something, a stick or whatever, and then he starts running around going, chum, 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 that kind of shit? How do you feel about that?
I don't
bother you at all? Or?
That doesn't, no. And I think it goes back to what E just said, because we set, I think we've done a decent job setting kind of the expectation around what they're doing. So we try to explain to them and show them things throughout the course of life of like the negative implications of certain things. Sometimes it's things that they play around doing in the house, which is all, of fun and good nature, but can easily turn the other way. So I'm hopeful that that's, been able to help them rationalize what they're doing.
What's crazy? And I've always said this. I've had friends that grew up by their parents teaching them to they grew up in the culture of real guns, but like for hunting and target practice, and I've noticed that those kids, and this is gonna sound probably crazy, but those kids that grew up with a healthy respect, or they were taught to respect weapons and use them for certain things, and this is how you take care of a weapon, clean a weapon, shoot a weapon. A lot of those kids ended up being less into like the whole like I want to have a gun or brandish a gun or into that whole macho gun culture, and they seem to be more respectful of weapons, of guns. And I don't know, I'm not saying that we should have like in school like a class for everybody to learn about guns, but truth be told, society has to change its approach on how we kind of like educate children about weapons and violence and all this stuff, because I think kids are confused, man. And I think just video games, and I hate to be the guy that says video games and movies, because obviously we grew up in a time where we're like, come on, man, like don't explicit this and NWA or movies, and we're like, turn it off. But I think that other things going on in society put these pressures, and then there's mental instability and there's all these things that we just don't know how they're affecting children, that then on top of that, the video games and the movies, these kids are just like, and I don't know, I just think that just desensitization, and I can't even say the word, but is really what's going on, I think, ultimately at the end of the day. But I would like to say that there's nothing wrong with kids pretending to play with a gun, but I don't know, man.
I want to hear
50-50.
K's tone was very serious when he even proposed the question.
Because is this happening to you right now?
Not too often. Every now and then, because I know that at school, at recess, there are times where, there's kids running around and they're pretending to play guns, and that's actually not allowed at school. And my son will come back and he might be messing around, and they'll say, "Are you allowed to do that at school?" And he goes, "No, so-and-so got in trouble for doing that as well." And we have a pretty much a no gun policy. Like, he's had a water gun, like when in the pool, that kind of stuff. But we explained to him about guns and what they're for, and how they, if you use them wrong, how they can hurt, and that kind of stuff. But we definitely don't encourage him playing around like that, because we just don't really want him having that kind of psyche of I don't know. We could be totally wrong. I mean, we were at a kid's birthday party a couple months ago, and I don't know how the subject came up. I think because the kids were all running around, and some of them started doing the whole gun stuff. And some of the parents were telling the kids to knock it off. And then there was one of the parents, she just came out and said, it's important for boys to play with guns and know about guns. She goes, it's part of a boy's nature to, it's scientifically. I wish I knew.
Ridiculous.
I wish I knew more about what she was saying. I might do some research on it, but she was saying that there's been some doctors and studies just saying that guns and playing with guns should not be taboo for boys, because it's part of their nature, and the more that they learn about it, the more that they're exposed to it, it kind of appeases this
animal instinct,
this desire inside, too. So I don't know.
I'm sure there's something to that, but I don't think it's specific to guns. Maybe just aggression.
And this is a couple months ago, and I was just kind of eavesdropping on the conversation, and I didn't engage too much on it. So I don't know a whole lot of it, but yeah. So
I just find it fascinating that she focused on boys. Now, granted, I understand boys act differently than girls, but I mean, I know plenty of girls who are great markswomen, first and foremost, and enjoy responsibly having guns. So,
yeah.
Right, but you're talking about probably grown women already.
Yeah. Well,
I think we're talking about when I didn't know too many girls. I mean, I knew some girls that wanted to always play with the boys and did the gun thing, but most of the girls I knew were doing, were playing with more girl toys or whatever, and the boys were doing this. Maybe we were just sectioned off that way, and that's why it just ended up happening that way. But I do think there is something to say about some little boy male aggression thing where something psychological makes sense, but I don't know if it's specific to guns per se.
Yeah. My wife used to go hunting when she was like 10, 11, 12 with her dad. It's a whole different story, but she enjoyed it.
I think that's healthy, man. I don't know. I think that if I'm not necessarily like that type of gun dude, but I had a good friend, a best friend when I was young, and his dad took him hunting from when he was really young, and he had in his room, we're like 14 or 15 already, but he had already grown up with guns. He had a shotgun in his closet.
Damn.
He'd pull it out, he'd clean it, and the parents would be in the next room hearing and they weren't scared because he was very responsible. He would be like, safety on, bullets, no bullets near the gun, never pointed in your face. And he's this kid showing me. And then I was like, oh, cool. And we would go skeet shooting and all this stuff. And he was like the most responsible person. And then what I noticed is that these other kids who didn't grow up like him, when they got to an age where they were allowed to be around a gun, and not allowed, but like they're just teenager who wants to be a gangster and they can now get a hold of a gun. They were the one brandishing the weapon. They're the one putting it in their holster, like in their belt line, like, look at me, I got a gun. And they were being a little bit more violent with the gun and aggressive than my friend who actually had like an arsenal in his, in his room next to his He-Mans. So
that's a great visual. Oh man. I've been thinking about getting my gun permit and all that up here for no other reason really, just to use it for sport, to like go, shooting range and that kind of thing. Not really hunting. I don't really care for that, but just to bust off some shots, And
skeet shooting is fun as hell, man.
That is fun. I almost
take IG photos with it and shit.
Nah, chill.
I'm fucking with you.
And for our uneducated folks, skeet shooting is not what you think it is.
I did it once. I skeet shot once, and my dumb ass.
And she was pregnant.
Was that at Sinners or where was that?
Nah, some backwoods up here in New York. But I didn't put on the earphones.
Man, with a shotgun?
Yeah, yo.
Yeah, you shoot with a shotgun, my bad.
Son, I thought I really went deaf. Like I was feeling for blood. I thought that's how hard it hit. I hit the skeet, but I skeeted the skeet, but my ears were ringing for like
busted the skeet.
I busted the skeet. It's all right, guys. We're 12. Who gives a shit?
We're getting in the mind of a 12-year-old boy right now.
But it was like an hour. I want to say that shit was ringing and I couldn't hear anything. So don't do that at home.
So the moral of the story is that we don't know what to say when it comes to kids using toy guns.
Yeah, I guess it's it just kind of depends on the kid and the situation, I guess.
Yeah, because of course, if you think your kid's a demon spawn,
right,
you don't start to introduce toy guns.
What's your? I don't know if you guys smoke cigars. Do you?
No.
I don't. No.
Okay,
I've tried it, but no.
But not something you do like every now and again.
No,
I'm not into that.
So I do maybe like 2 cigars a year or something like that, very infrequently. But
get around the kids.
Well, here's the thing. So like
rub,
I'll do it outside in the backyard, and I try to do it right around when time they're gonna go to sleep or where they're away. But some way, shape, or form, it doesn't work out, and then I see them like at the window looking at me in the backyard, like. And then I wait till they go to sleep. The next day, it's the Inquisition. They come to me like, "Why are you doing this to yourself?"
Oh man!
And I feel like complete shit. I can't be like, "No, it's okay," because it's not. And they're asking me point blank, like, "You know that cigars kill?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. But candy kills."
Well, the good thing about cigars is you don't actually inhale.
And that's the thing. Why should you feel guilty? I don't agree with that. I think you're a grown-ass adult.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it often. It's not like you're doing it every day, so it's not really bad for you.
Well,
so
maybe. I don't know.
I don't think 2 times a year is bad for you, man.
I mean, you could no, right. I think I agree with you, which is why I don't feel that bad doing it so often or that infrequently. But you could still. They say it can lead to cancer in the mouth because you're holding the smoke for a period
But
of
not
time.
2 times a year, no.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I explained to them. I'm like, but they get me with the question, why do you do it? I mean, it's something I enjoy, but what does it do for me in that moment? I couldn't tell you. Like, it's not something that I feel, like, for instance, I don't feel high. I don't feel.
You don't get that lightheadedness that people say.
I don't know.
You like the flavor of it? Is that it?
It's kind of strong. But I do. I kind of like the act of exhaling that fucking cumulus cloud. Yeah, I'm on mierda, right? So I get stuck. So actually, I brought that up because it's the closest thing I could tie to, say, if in my house I had guns, right? That exposure to guns, I think in this day and age, if I just got a gun, like I'm thinking about doing, I think I get the same kind of thing from them. Like, why? What are you're gonna? Oh my God!
Why would they have to know you have guns though? I mean, they don't have to know.
They don't know. They don't have to know. But I don't think I can do a good enough job to hide it, and I don't think I want to.
Like I'm thinking about that too because I have 2 weapons in the house, and I'm starting to think like, okay, I got to start to, make sure I get the safeties, the locks for them, or safe or whatever. But at the same time, me being the exaggerated thinker sometimes that I am, and I'm saying to myself, well, if I need to use the weapon in an emergency, I don't know that all that stuff is going to be helpful.
Right. It's going to prevent you from getting there.
A dude that wants to have, a gun under my pillow, a gun under my bed, a gun under my toilet, just in case different scenarios pop off, And it sounds crazy, but hey, bro, there's crazy things happening out here.
No, you're right.
There's people breaking in the daytime out here.
So what the hard thing about all this is that it's the whole consistency issue. It's we as adults tell our kids, don't do X, Y, and Z, and then we might ourselves do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And if they see us do it, then we have our explanation because we're older, but they don't necessarily understand that aspect of we might know more now that we're older and we understand, the pros and cons like that. I don't think they necessarily get that. So that becomes a difficult conversation when, we're telling them one thing, yet doing the other.
Yeah. But why do they have to see the weapons is what I'm saying. Like, if you have weapons and you have a gun or whatever, why do they have to see it before they're ready to see it or understand it? Like, you could have a gun, you could have your permit, you could have it stored away, put away, and you could go to the range and they never know any different that you went to the range. And when they get a little older, you'd be like, look, this is, my gun and, blah, blah. You take them to the range maybe in case of an emergency. This is where it's at because now they're old enough or whatever. If you want to tell them this is where it's at. But you don't have to tell them.
No.
So that I don't think that breaks the consistency part.
Just stick with nunchucks, man. You'll be all right.
Yeah. Tell that to homie when he comes in with the AK-47. Like I mean, look, my girl, like, she doesn't like guns, and we've discussed, me having. We don't talk about it much anymore, but we've discussed it, and we all laugh and we say, oh, you probably don't need it, but there's a story that always stuck in my head that happened to someone. Not that I really, I mean, I knew I had met the dude, but so there was this dude. I'm not gonna name certain names, but there was a dude that did promotions for a rapper out here, a big rapper, and he was just a promotion guy. So he had the rap vehicle. He would park the rap vehicle in his crib, and so some people thought that because he was associated with the rapper, he was paid.
Right.
Mind you, he lived in a very humble home. He just had a rap vehicle associated, and that he worked for the dude. So then they ran up in his crib. They laid out his whole family on their knees. They put the guy in front of his family, and they said, we want you to take us to the safe with all the money. And he's like, I have no money. They're like, if you don't take us to the safe with all the money, we're going to kill you right in front of your kids. And they killed him because he had no money.
Wow.
And they killed him. So we might say that, oh, it's exaggerated to think these certain things, but going back to, living, we work in the industry or whatever, there's people out there that just, they think differently, or they think you're paid, or they think you have this or not, or they just break into your crib just for the hell of it. So that's what worries me. It's like, what do you do? How do you protect your family? How do you do this? I don't know.
Whatever you do, don't get on the Nextdoor app. Because you read about all kinds of break-ins and shit in your neighborhood.
No, the Ring app. That's what right now the Ring is telling me, and it's all like 0.2 miles, 0.1 mile. Your neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Have you seen the guy that licked the this happened in Florida, so you probably haven't seen it. There's a video, this is on the local news, of a guy caught on camera licking the doorbell of a house for 3 hours. For 3 hours. I'm gonna show you via Skype. You guys can see it, but our obviously our listeners can't see it. For 3 hours. What kind of maniac is that person,
Jesus
bro?
Christ.
Oh, those ring videos are scary.
Scary as hell. Look. Let's see. Hold on, let me. So this is the dude right here. Hold on. Look.
Can we post that on our IG, please?
You want me to send it to you?
Yes. Yes, send it to me.
I'm gonna send it to. Yo, so I'm just saying, man. The world is getting crazy, bro. How can you? Nunchucks ain't gonna cut it, bro. Up to me, I'll have an anti-tank missile, man.
Yo, his face was priceless, man.
It won't close, man. Stop, get away.
Ay, Dios mío.
So
this week I had to go to a performance. So my kids, I feel like there's pros and cons to this in my head, but I guess I want to talk to y'all about it just to see what your take is. So my daughter she takes chorus as part of middle school, like it's one of her classes, and they do whatever spring and winter concerts or what have you, or recital. It's not really a big ass concert, but she's singing, and every year they do this. Like since I think kindergarten, she's been doing this every year in some way, shape, or form. But now it's like a certified class. Like she has a grade associated with this, and she's all like worried about going and yada yada. And actually, that's why I bumped our normal recording day, because we had to go to her school. So we get there, I was actually floored because they got those risers where like people stand and they like different levels or whatever. So they had that. It must have been like, I don't know, 50 kids or what have you. And they were actually pretty damn good. Like this is her 6th grade class. And so auditorium is packed. Kids are singing well. And I'm looking at her throughout the whole thing like, damn, you really came up. Because I remember her voice being, pretty shitty as, the younger she was. And then I'm thinking to myself, this is probably like the 3rd or so thing in a month or so that I've had to go to school for. And if I was working at a normal job where I had to be, away or not receive my kids or what have you, like it'd be a stretch for me to be able to make these things. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the conflict. Like if I were working a normal 9 to 5, I don't know how often I'd be able to go. But the fact that I am fortunate enough to be there at these things, I think it means, I know it means the world to them. So my 5-year-old, he has his own things that we attend as often as we can. But I feel bad for those that have parents that aren't as fortunate to be able to go to these things. And I notice the substantial difference of, and back to the Premium Pete episode, like literally just your presence, being in that moment, experiencing that with them. And in my daughter's case, she wasn't even like really into doing this. Like it was just kind of like, oh shit, I have to do it because it's a grade and whatever. But it worked. It was amazing. Like my expectations were blown. And us just being there, I sensed her obviously getting more calm, but like afterwards, like you just see this like, I don't know, this amazement in the face of just having her parents be there. So, and you guys are in a similar situation where you have more flexibility to do some of these things in certain cases, and E, you're not there yet, but like, what do you guys?
Hopefully, I still have it then.
Yeah, hopefully that's still available for you. But like,
right.
How do you guys look at that? Because I think it's a very important thing that might go under the radar for a lot of folks.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing to be able to, because basically what it boils down to is flexibility and time is worth way more than I mean, you need money to survive and, to maintain whatever lifestyle you lead. But to have that time to be able to do those things, you really can't equate a price tag on that. So it's definitely a blessing to be able to jump out and be able to do those things for sure.
Plus, God forbid. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and you're right, man. I mean, the kids take notice of it. They're happy that
until they're embarrassed.
Right. Until they
Right.
until they don't want to see you anymore. But for right now, they're happy.
Yeah. But
I'm just even sorry, I cut you off one more time. I'm also just kind of amazed that your daughter's school has that program, because at least a lot of the schools, especially public, I mean, there's no music, there's no art.
That's
or
terrible,
if it is,
man.
it's after school. My son is hard pressed to have PE, every 2 weeks for 1 hour, that kind of stuff. So a lot of all those things have gone away in a lot of schools. So for your daughter to have that outlet, that's a good thing.
So you mean to tell me if a kid in like 10 years or 5 years or even now watches that movie American Pie, they won't know what band camp is? They couldn't relate.
They could relate. And it's funny, I say that to my kids all the time. When they're like, you know that time? So they're like, you know that time? Yeah, band camp. My wife and I will finish that statement. And they look at us like, what are you talking about?
But what I was going to say is, in terms of taking time and doing those things, unfortunately, you just never know, if we'll be here forever, and we won't be here forever. Obviously, we know we won't be, but that's what always scares me, man. Like, I'm just like, I want to soak it all in with my daughter, because I don't know, I'm just like dreadful. Like, God knows what could happen tomorrow. That's sad.
Yeah. Well, look, we have to be lucky that we have the time that we have, and then, if and when things change and that time isn't necessarily available, or work schedules change and you can't take part as much, then everyone just has to be resilient and work it out. But definitely we got to be lucky when we have the time.
Am I the only one that having a child has made me think a lot about my mortality? Did that happen to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, for sure.
Okay. I don't think about it too much. What I do think about more...
Freaking Buddha over here, man.
I mean, what I do think, not mortality, but I think about what am I going to leave him when it is my time? Like, how well am I going to be able to set him up for success? You know what I mean? Like, right. Wealth, right? As opposed to making some money in the short term. What can I do now that I'm a father to create some wealth that I could actually pass on to him?
But do you think in long term, or do you think in short terms?
I'm thinking long term,
because I think in both. Like, this is the way I think about everything. Like, I'm always one of those type of thinkers that I'm thinking about, like, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 years, 20 years. Like, what happens if I'm gone in 2 years? What can I leave to make sure she's okay? If I survive 2 years, 5 years, what can I make sure that she's okay? And yeah, I don't know. I tend to think about that a lot. And then also just having a child made me think, because it's almost like starting the clock again on life. Like, you started a clock on another life, click, and then you're like saying to yourself, well, damn, I'm already halfway through that clock for my own life.
Yeah, I do think that too. I'm like, damn, man, I got X amount of time left, in just when you look at the numbers, and it's like,
right.
All right, well, what have I got to show for, like, what what can I do I got to jumpstart some things to.
Well, then you do think about mortality to a degree.
Yeah, I do, but I guess I don't know, I guess, but not in the.
I just think before you have kids, you live for yourself, so you could kind of be more free about, like, whatever happens to you, and you don't ever think about really your death. you're like, I'm gonna be here doing. When we go party next week, or what strip club am I going? Tomorrow. Like you're just not really thinking. But when a child is now, you're thinking, okay, like we got to make sure she's good to 9 months, to 1 year, then preschool, then high school, then college, and it's like all these different steps. So now you're thinking, I got to make sure I'm here to provide for that person. And then you start to think in real years, like, okay, if I'm this age, the average, rate of that someone lives, male Hispanic is this. My family, males in my family last till like I really started doing the numbers, and I'm like, well, damn, I gotta, there's a sense of urgency here to make sure I get enough things done that she's good before I reach like that critical point where I may not be here.
Yeah. So to clarify, I don't think of it in terms of nervousness or any of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. What you said, I think of it in terms of just urgency on. All right. Yeah, that's what
I mean. I'm not nervous.
I got X, Y, and Z to do. Ideally to make sure that he's okay. For the future.
I'm constantly doing the math. Like I'm always like, and even I mention this all the time. Like I want to have a fourth kid. And I do the numbers, and
you want to have 10th kid? Let's be real.
Nah, I can't do that. But I definitely stretch out for a fourth, and I'm like, shit. Like just thinking about the different stages and moments where I think kids need you the most. I'm like, I'm pushing it to get them through college. For instance, if I have a kid, roughly around now, I'm pretty confident the numbers will work themselves out, and I'll still be around if I'm, taking care of myself. But there's so many other variables. Like you can control what you can control, like your nutrition, exercise, whatever. But then you got genetics play a part. Like for instance, my mother had cancer.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So that runs in my family. There's so many different things. So it does kind of drive you crazy.
Starting to become a hypochondriac over here, man.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. But the reality also is you got to just like live for that moment one day at a time and just like try to map this shit out. Like, I try to have like, those prototypical vehicles that if God forbid something happens, you got stashes a little bit everywhere where if the clock stops ticking, people should be okay. But money's finite. So they got to figure shit out.
Yeah.
This is one of our drearier episodes, I think.
It was kind of morbid, but it was good.
It's real.
Good information.
It's real, man. It's real as hell. Sorry.
Hey. Well, we can at least end it with a good song. So.
Yeah. And make sure you give us the catchphrase.
Someone else do it.
Go ahead, Barry White.
Damn, I thought you were gonna do it. Indeed.
There you go.
Yo, enjoy KNX at the end of this here. Hope you like it, and please
FNX.
Damn, what I say, KNX? That's it. That's your DJ buddy, ain't it?
Not to be confused with DJ Effin.
Yeah, FNX.
FNX, Daddy's Baby.
Daddy's Baby. Word.
Later.
Before I met you, now I'm praying at night, hoping that God protect you. You made me grow up, get wise and slow up. Came here with your eyes open, so baby, you special. It started with dreams that I left the water running. Fast forward, that nurse told me my daughter's coming. I think I remember every breath until I watch your little hands first clutch it to your mother's chest. Now I learn from you where you learning from me, and in your eyes I see a better version of me. No birds of the bees, land, ocean, and seas can never stop you from the things you're supposed to achieve. You want a legacy of strong women, so learn from your ancestors and find God in them. I'm so thankful for the man you made me, and even when life gets crazy, you always gonna be daddy's baby.
Daddy's baby, you could be an infant or old lady. It could be sunshine or get rainy. It don't matter how old you get, girl, to me, you're always daddy's baby. Daddy's baby, you could be an infant or old lady.
every diaper change. Spring baby is funny, it's like you like the rain. Despite all the flashy lights and fame, I'ma always be in your corner, especially when you fight through pain. Lil' one, life is full of highs and lows, and nothing worth having is easy, that's just how it goes. But certain things happen, no one knows. But rain from the storm is the same thing that helps the flower grow. So precious and young, fresh breath in your lungs. There's power in words, so watch what you speak from your tongue. You're the moon and the sun. When this music is done, utilize it, get for good, just don't use it for fun. I'm talking to you. Now heed this wisdom that I offer to you. Always be kind, baby, cause that's the God within you. And keep on walking with you. I don't care how old you get, girl, you always gonna be daddy's baby.
Daddy's baby, you could be an infant or old lady. It could be sunshine or get rainy. It don't matter how old you get, girl, to me, you're always daddy's baby. Daddy's baby, you could be an infant or old lady. It could be sunshine or get rainy. It don't matter how old you get, girl, to me, you're always daddy's baby. You made me a better man, so I'ma do all that I can. And I will love you and always protect you. And I will always be there. 'Cause you're daddy's baby.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the bell.